merging into our manifestations requires a great deal of inner work, practice, and observation. So when we are manifesting, if you are in currently the process and practice of manifestation, if you are working on building your goals in the material realm, if you're working on bettering your health and wellness, your body, your relationship with yourself or relationship with others, there are many, many undercurrents that will need to be adjusted, will need to be looked at, and will start to form to align with the type of life you're desiring and what you're wanting to create. And first of all, manifestation is the act of creating. So we have the energetic aspect of ourself, the law of attraction, if you will. Many people are very familiar with that. Like attracts like. Our energy does send out some sort of unseen signal in our reality, and it does form our experiences in our reality. But the manifestation aspect is the aspect of doing, is the aspect of committing, is the aspect of creating, of building in the material world. So now this can also, of course, apply to our body, our physical health. It can apply to relationships. It can apply to our career path. It can apply to our inner self. Wherever you want change to see happen in your world, you can manifest it. However, there are many stages of manifestation that I feel are overlooked during this process. Now we can think our reality into being. We can feel our reality into being, which is really important. We can visualize our reality into being, which is also equally as important. It is important to know where we're going, knowing that we all have the ability to create our reality completely. Now, if you are not on the path of manifestation or creating, do not worry. You can jump in at any time. You can try these exercises out at any time. But if you are in the process of manifestation, then there is going to be a very important step that not many people are talking about. And this is the adjustment period. This is the integration. This is the under the surface stuff that needs to happen in order for you to align with the person you need to be in the future that you are creating. And not many people talk about this. Not many people talk about the depths of what needs to happen and the loss that we need to go through. Some people talk about the loss, maybe, yes, of course, in the physical realm, maybe a reality, or maybe a relationship needs to fall apart, maybe a career path needs to change. But going under the surface even further into what is happening within our deeper self when we are starting to manifest, when we are starting to take control, and I say that lightly, we can't take full control of our life, but in a way of observation and realizing that we are the creators of our life. We have a part to play in the story called life, rather than letting life just haphazardly bump us around and being sort of subjected to the cause and effect, being in the effect, not the causation of our realities. So that means not being aware of maybe our unconscious patterns, not being aware that we can create constructive change in our life, not being aware that we have choice in certain degree. I feel that also some of the experiences that I've gone through in the past, I certainly feel that I didn't have choice because I also lacked the awareness. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. If we don't have the awareness, we won't have the choice. But we always do have the choice once we have the awareness. Once we see that we are creators and that we can change our life, we will step into the awareness that's needed in order for us to make the choices, in order for us to step into the ability to create. Right? So this is a little bit of a funny game of life. You know, unfortunately, not many people will be able to realize that they are the creators. They will constantly be influenced by their unconscious beliefs, their unconscious patterns, and unfortunately, not be able to see a way out, not be able to see or gain a new perspective on their life, on their reality. So if you are being conscious, a conscious creator, if you are being conscious around the steps that you need to take, what is unfolding, where you want to go, maybe making conscious choices around the people you associate with or the boundaries that you implement. Maybe you are being conscious around the work that needs to develop within your inner self. Maybe you're being conscious around the future that you are desiring. There's a very powerful undercurrent that needs to happen to align you with this new reality, with the changes that you're wanting to create. And of course, when you start to make conscious choices, naturally, situations are going to line up for you. So this is a bit of a co-creation, right? This is part you showing up and wanting to create the change, but then also allowing for the outer world to match that, allowing for situations to show up in your life, even if they are challenging situations. And knowing that challenging situations are going to offer you incredible opportunity for inner change. So this exercise of manifestation comes with deep, deep, deep practice. Now, you may even have come across some of these very influential influencers who are marketing these get-rich plans and schemes, if you will, or platforms for people to make a lot of money. However, not all people for sure, for certain, are going to actually be able to execute on that, because it all boils down to our beliefs within ourselves, our false beliefs, how we feel about ourselves, and our relationship with our deeper self. And if we are not venturing into the depths of our deeper self, then we aren't going to be able to manifest. And so what happens during this process of manifestation, once we set our intentions, once we look into the future, we also have to be aware that there's a whole other unfolding happening under the surface that is adjusting, that is integrating, that might heal, might have to repair. There may have to be very big changes that need to be taken into consideration when manifesting. What needs to be let go of? What attachments need to be released? What needs to be faced within maybe the harder truths within ourselves in order to set ourselves free and line ourselves up with a better life. Now, these hard truths are important truths. These are the hard truths that we need to face within ourselves to look at ourselves differently and to gain new perspectives. This is part of the shadow. This is part of the unconscious self. Now, also what happens during this shift that we are creating when we start to envision our future, when we start to connect, when we start to realize that, oh, we want something better, I can be better, I want a better life, there most likely is going to be loss, as I mentioned, but also the intent that you have set in motion, your new perceptions that are starting to shift based on a reality that you're wanting, all are connected with something under the surface, something deeper that is starting to morph and starting to adjust and starting to take shape. So your body will adjust, your body is going to start to shift. Your mindset is going to start to change, your mindset is going to start to shift. Your emotional self is going to start to shift and change. And of course, your spirit is going to awaken. You're going to awaken to a new aspect of yourself. But what happens is there is this shift that's happening between the under the surface and the above the surface, the physical realm. And there can be a lot of distortion between these two shifts as they are trying to find their way into alignment so that they can work together for you to manifest and see the results in your outer reality. So this adjustment period when you're starting to shift could take years. I hate to discourage anyone out there, but know that we are not in a rush. We have been living by the clock since we were young kids. We have been stressed out by the clock as well, probably most of our lives, having to be on time, having to have deadlines and appointments, etc., which are all fine. And we do need a certain level of time consideration when working with these areas in our life. But it does seep into our unconscious self where we feel that we are running out of time, where we want things done now, when we set expectations and we become disappointed when our expectations aren't met. So what happens during this shift is there's friction. There's friction between our old way of being or our old programs or unconscious beliefs and what we want, a better life, a more fulfilled, a free life, a life of balance and harmony and maybe love and enjoyment, fulfillment, etc. And also do remember that this ride that we're on, this ride called life, comes with the highs and lows, and we may unconsciously want to escape the lows, and we may be very discouraged when we are feeling low, when we want to aim for high, but we need the highs and lows to work as one, and being in that place of balance is going to give us the equilibrium for us to create and for us to find the harmony within. We need the lows, we need the highs, we need the dark, we need the light, we need to also learn how to work with them as one. So there's a huge, massive unfolding when you step foot into a new way of being, when you say and you claim, I want a better life. I want this kind of life. I want this kind of relationship. I want to be this kind of person. There's a massive shift that's happening under the surface that sometimes can't be felt and can't be seen. Now, what might happen is synchronicities might show up. You might all of a sudden find new content to watch. You might find someone to work with. You might all of a sudden bump into someone new who might open a doorway for a new opportunity. There are all these shifts that are happening under the surface that sometimes we can't see until we are out, or we can't see until there's been a big shift and we realize, okay, that is what's going on. There's a lot of stuff happening under the surface. And that's where patience comes in. I know sometimes we don't like to hear that word, but it is very true. And surrendering to this process and trusting this process. And when we move into this deeper analysis or deeper connection with ourselves, being able to probe into these areas of our life for inquiry, being very curious and observing ourselves through this process of shift and alignment, so that we can meet ourselves in a place of harmony and we can manifest and see the results in our outer world, we will be able to gain greater insight of what needs to change, maybe how we can drop into more patience and understanding with the process, and then of course into a more empowered version of ourselves to manifest, right? So there's so many dimensions within ourselves that need to line up and adjust for us to step into a new reality. And it is step by step by step. Incredible patience is required for this. And some of you out there have signed up soul contract for great big roles in this world. We are going through an incredible shift. I'm sure you're aware of this, where things are changing. We are changing. And it is a beautiful, beautiful process. The process of manifestation is a beautiful process, even the ugly aspects. And I know I've been in it long enough to understand how painful it is, how difficult it is, how uncertain it is, how fearful it is, how challenging it is. But it is happening for us to see more of ourselves and to step through what we've been used to into something different, into something new, one step at a time. Sometimes we may feel that we're going back. Sometimes we may feel we've taken a giant leap forward. And this is part of the process. Through these changes, these shifts, these adjustments, that's where we get to learn more and more and more about ourselves. I've also heard this term of, I feel like I'm going crazy. I've heard it from many people, myself included. No one is going crazy, and I can promise you that. These are the shifts that we need to go through that shake up a lot within ourselves, that can open up new levels of consciousness. When we go deeper within ourselves, we are naturally going to feel almost as if we lost ourselves. We are going to feel maybe a bit crazy. We're going to feel new feelings and sensations within ourselves that we have never felt before, because we haven't been here before. We haven't experienced this before. So this is all new and it's all foreign for a lot of us, right? So if you are in the practice of manifesting or changing or wanting a better future, know that all these steps are exactly what you need. So faith is important. Trust is important. Trusting ourselves, trusting the process, and observing, going deeper within yourself and not being afraid of what's under the surface, for that is where those answers lie. Then when we work on the lower portion of ourself, we work on the practical portion of our life, what we can build based on the strong foundation that has taken shape within our deeper self. Then we are ready to create the results in our practical world. We're ready to show up more. We're ready to put ourselves out there more, or take charge, or make new connections, open our heart to meaningful connections, constructive connections, empowering connections. There are so many different ways to look at this practice. So I do encourage you to look at this practice in different perspectives. What areas are starting to evolve? What areas are starting to change? What areas are starting to open within yourself or within your outer environment? Where is it taking you? Where do you want to go? Most importantly, because that is a very important aspect. Where do you want to go? What kind of results do you want to see happen in your outer world? This is your creation. This is your canvas. You get to create it. And remembering that that shift that's happening under the surface is aligning you with what is going to be experienced in your outer reality, your job, your career, your interpersonal relationships, your love relationship, your success, your home, your everything, right? And so these will line up eventually. And when you're in alignment that is where you are going to really create, and you're going to feel in balance and harmony. And so the darker experiences are part of this. The changes happening with what you can see are this. And then you meet them in the middle. You bring that into equilibrium and harmony, and that is where you are going to know that you have arrived. So this shift between times of manifestation and creation are quite substantial and very, very, very important, very crucial. And it requires a great deal of presence, dropping into the presence of tuning in with the body, tuning in with the emotions, tuning in with the mind, tuning in with the perceptions of reality. That's why also we need time by ourselves during this process. We need time to feel. We need time to sense, tuning into aspects of ourselves that we have never accessed before. It is a truly exciting process, but I know it can be very difficult. I get it. But I'm hoping to shed some light on this transformative phase or phases that we can continually find ourselves in, the friction between what is happening under the surface and what we are experiencing in our reality, or both. So there is an adjustment period that needs to happen over and over and over again. We set intentions. We become more certain about who we are. We have conviction in our knowing. There needs to be time for adjustment after that and for integration. Then we have greater awareness, greater ideas, greater sense of certainty of self, of direction. Then we need to go through an adjustment period. So it's step by step by step. But as long as, again, you know what you want, you know where you're going with it, that is going to be essential. You know how you want to feel as a result is going to be also very essential. Even in your mind's eye, visualizing this future reality that you're wanting to be part of, that you're wanting to experience, that you're wanting to create, and then trusting yourself, trusting the universe, trusting the process. There's a great deal of amount of trust needed. The ego will fight that. The ego will make up stories and it will resist. Even the body will as well. But that's part of this process that we're in of the shift that needs to happen between the unseen and the practical, the seen, the conscious awareness level. So the adjustment period through manifestation is essential. It's probably one of the most important stages that will allow you to learn more about yourself, make constructive changes, and see the results happening. When we are in the act of creating and doing, we're doing. When we are in the zone, we're creating, we're doing. But when we are given a time for pause, or when a big change has happened, that is an instrumental part of this entire process. That is the alignment happening. And when we see the alignment starting to happen, that's where we can dive into it and start to steer it into the direction that we want to go, right? And that's also where we learn a lot about ourselves, about our false beliefs, what has been holding us back, what we need to look at, improvements that need to be made, etc. All right, so I'm hoping that this sheds some light on maybe something you are experiencing, or maybe something you will go through on the process of manifestation and creation. And I'm wishing you all the best on your journey and beyond. Take care.